Conversation.
Time is now 6:48. We're going to reconvene this open session. First on our list, we got some action items from closed session. I would ask Ms. Lamont Dixon if you would help me here.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that the board approve the administration's personnel recommendations as presented in closed session with addendum.
Second.
All right, we've been properly motioned second. All in favor? All right, motion carries. Next, we'll go into action item number 4, the 2019-2020 compensation plan. May I have a motion? Second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
We actually have a presentation on this item.
Okay.
Even better. And so I'd like to introduce Mike Seald. He is going to provide you all with as much as we know today about House Bill 3 and its implementation. Unfortunately, is not as much as we'd like to know. It does look like, well, we hope that it's a favorable outcome. The runs vary. Mike's going to go through all of that. We have brought the board 2 different recommendations for your consideration. We'll discuss those at length.
As always, we appreciate the board's interest in what to me is the most important topic in the world. To the rest of you is just an important part of your job. Our agenda tonight, and not necessarily in this order, is that we are going to, first of all, discuss our broad budget goals and focus for this year. We will do a legislative update as we know it today. We'll look at the budget outlook in light of that legislative update. We will then have about 10 budget initiatives that different members of the leadership team will present, and then we'll talk about the next steps in developing and approving a budget. Our budget goals for this year, our focus, first of all, we want to focus on serving the whole student. If you see the initial slide we put up, or the cover of your budget book, you'll see a picture of a child that's got a soccer ball under one arm and a trumpet in his arms and some school books. Someone suggested to me that that's just because we don't have lockers in our schools now. But what I was trying to convey is that we are concerned not just about the academics, but we're concerned about all aspects of the child's school life. We want to talk a little bit about enhancing safety and security. We wanted to focus on appropriately compensating our staff with the available recurring resources. Recurring is a key. We don't want to compensate our employees out of fund balance. We want to have recurring revenue. We want to address the growth of our special needs population, and Henry Phipps will talk a lot about that. We want to identify savings and repurpose those funds to address current needs. We want to enhance communication and transparency, and Jamie will talk to us about that. And I'll talk to you a little bit about mitigation of flood losses. On the revenue side, the LBB projected, and I think most of you know this, that we would have $23 million of new revenue above and beyond the revenue that we would have had this legislation never been passed. So we would have had the revenue that comes from having value growth, from having additional students join our district, and then on top of that, we would have $23 million. If all that turns out to be exactly true, if we can validate that, then we will know that we'll have about $54 million of new revenue available to spend over the next 2 years, or over the 2 years of this biennium. The most consistent interpretation of the raise side of things, and we do get some pretty consistent views about this. For a while we were bouncing around trying to read the legislation word for word as opposed to just looking at it in its entirety. Most consistent look would say that because we've got that $23 million new dollars, that we're required to spend $7 million of that to increase salaries for our teachers and our non-administrators. Of that $5,250,000, we will be required to give to teachers either in additional salary or in salary and additional benefits of some other type, such as assistance with paying their health insurance. But again, it would come out to about $1,750 on average per teacher. I talked to you about the validation piece. For 25 years, I started in school business the year that Robin Hood plan came into existence. It took us 3 or 4 years to fully figure out the impact of the Robin Hood plan. And let there be no doubt, Robin Hood plan still exists. There was a lot of talk before the legislative session, we've got to get rid of this terrible Robin Hood plan. The reality was, it's the only way that you can have some semblance of equity between school districts. But they reduced some of the impact of that. But it's really radical changes. We have had, for those 25 years, we've been able to look at a template where we plugged in all of our values, we plugged in all of our students with all their demographic differences, and out at the bottom of that template it would say, therefore you're entitled to this amount of money. That has not been created for this legislation. We also have been able, over the past probably 15 years of my career, the formula was so well known that we could do what we call back of the envelope calculations. And I could say if value grows by this much, if enrollment grows by this much, I believe that we would generate about this much additional money for those new students and that new value. And we could generally come within 1 or 2% of accuracy. Then we would do the template and we would reconcile the two. Once again, we don't have that. We don't have a template. We have a projection of a template. We have something, one of our great funding gurus, a guy named Omar Garcia, who used to work for the TEA, he produces a template, but he will tell you, this is my interpretation of the law, and it could be a lot different when this is finalized. So again, a lot of differing opinions. We've been working with TASA, with Moat Casey, with the Equity Center, with TEA, and with other budget officials from districts, and we're all trying to figure this out, and we do that, work a little bit on it every day. I don't know how close we can get by 2 weeks from now when we have to adopt a budget. So we will have to adopt a budget that has a measure of conservatism in it, just in case that top figure doesn't so let's talk a little bit now about what a normal budget year would look like, because I know, especially for new board members, you see that we're looking at a $15 million or $20 million budget increase, and that just seems enormous. How could that possibly be necessary? So I like to run through this exercise. First of all, we have about a 2.75% projected enrollment growth. So everything else constant, I've got to serve 2.75% more kids. I've got to have supplies for them. I've got to have teachers. So that would increase our budget by about $10 million. We want to have a 2.5% salary increase. We don't always hit that. Sometimes we're fortunate and can go above that. But if you look back over the past few years, we've hovered around that 2% to 3% salary increase. So a 2.5% increase to all wages costs us about $8 million. A 2.5% increase to the compensation items that go along with that, taxes, insurance, and so forth. That's another $500,000. And then if you take 2% inflation on everything else, take compensation and put it aside, and say this other money we spend for supplies, for utilities, all of those things, if that goes up to match 2% inflation, that costs us $2 million. So kind of what I would call a stabilizing budget in a normal year, a budget that would allow us to maintain, continue providing the programs, keep the student-teacher ratios and so forth the same, would run about $18.5 million. But this year we have some extraordinary things. First of all, we've got to give the raise that HB3 requires us to give. We're not yet absolutely sure what that is. We think we know what it is, but that will be more than a 2.5% raise. Next, we need to staff and provide resources needed to address our rapidly growing special needs population. Our population for special ed students, dyslexic students, 504 students, that is climbing much, much more rapidly than our general population is running. And that's a phenomena that is true in almost all of what I would call the destination districts around the state. The districts that parents choose because they want those special services for their kids. And Henry will talk a lot about that. And then thirdly, as not talked about too much, but as part of this legislation, HB3 legislation, over the next 5 years, we're going to be required to increase our contribution for employees' teacher retirement system by $1.2 million. Fortunately, we'll be able to phase that in over a 5-year period. This year, that'll cost us about $250,000. That has to come out of our imaginary $23 million. These were the figures I was looking for. I was rolling backwards instead of forwards. When you combine what we would have gotten under as new money under old law with the $23 million that we hope to get under new law, we would top out at about $45 million new dollars to spend for the 1920 school year of the biennium. We would pick up about an extra $8 to $10 million. So a total of $52 to $55 million to spend over that 2-year period. You have to have tough decisions to make because you can spend the majority of that in this year, but that means that you're going to really have to tighten your belts in the next year. And especially we'll have to tighten your belts if our projections, our interpretation of the law falls short. On the low end of that, we're very confident that we will have $30 million new dollars to spend this year. That's a big spread, $15 million spread. It is pretty amazing to us all that we could be facing that level of uncertainty where we are now. But the reason is because so many of the legislative decisions were made within 2 days of the end of the legislative session that law has not really been written to catch up with the legislation, and the rules and regulations and templates just aren't there. What we're going to be doing, because we're not able tonight to bring you, hey, here's a budget we want you to be prepared to vote on. This time last year we were able to do that. This year we're not. But what we are saying is that excluding raises, we are committed to bring back to you a budget excluding raises that's between $16 and $18 million. That's for all the other pieces that go into that, all the new staff that we're hiring and all of those things. Talk to you tonight about raise models. One is a basic 3% model, 3% for all employees across the board. Cost to the district from the operating fund would be about $9.3 million. So as you can see, we would be, if we came in at $18 million for non-raise, added $9 million to that, would be about $27 million that we would be spending out of the current funds. He's also going to bring to you what I call a $4,000 teacher raise model. That would cost us about $17.5 million. All of the, what we call formula campus staff additions. Rick has got a formula for staffing campuses that says when you've got this many students, you entitled to this many teachers. When you've got this many students, go above this number, we add another counselor, we add another assistant principal. Do we have assistant principals in your model? We do. We have assistant principals. You'll see that we've got included in here the principal for elementary school number 29. We like to do that early in the year so they can order supplies and help with the design of that campus. Because throughout the summer and throughout September, we're going to see that kids pop up where we didn't expect them to, and we need to add 5.5 regular ed paras, 42.5 special ed teachers, 44.5 special ed paras, And I need to say here, though I call these formula campus positions, those go far beyond what a pure formula would normally do on a campus. There's a lot of catching up we're doing. Social workers, counselors, and so other staff. A lot of these positions are, in fact, going to be on the campus, maybe on several campuses every day, but they're not part of that formula. 4.5 additional positions. It's an addition to the 7 positions talking about and that we have another 44.5 positions relating to special ed, 504 dyslexia nurses or counselors for that special population. 10 bilingual paras, 6 fine arts teachers, which would take us to a full-time fine arts, full-time art teacher on every elementary campus. Officers, a dispatcher, energy management, consulting specialists, and a delivery route driver for the folks that deliver supplies to the campuses and deliver. A lot of those items will be discussed when we go into the budget. So that's 190.5 formula campus staff FTEs. Other staff additions, that was 67.5. That's 258 total positions. And again, to emphasize the challenge we have in staffing for our special ed and special population, over 50% of our positions are going. Projected cost for the new campus FTEs is $9.5 million. For the other FTEs, $12.7 million. Questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
Mike, and this is probably a question to Henry. Under special ed teachers now, does that count your itinerants, your...
All those are campus-based.
All those are campus-based now? Okay. Okay.
I've got a question. So, based on the number of identified students last year, and the number of identified students require increase in teachers, what is the difference in the number of kids we've identified? And Henry has got a full presentation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the question I'm going to ask is if we're identifying X percent more, then we're going to be entitled to more money for the special ed line. We are
Well, you made the statement that we don't pay teachers out of the federal money.
Yes, sir.
We don't pay any of the teachers out of the federal money. Okay.
The number that Cecilia requested was an October snapshot of last academic school year. We had 3,317 students receiving services. We've grown now today to 3,917, about 601 students from last snapshot date. So those are students that were, as Mike said, we're catching up to provide the staff team support.
Any other questions about this?
A lot of this is going to be explained in more detail. All of these folks will be
I think that the
First step is Rick.
All right, thank you, Mike. Mike pretty much covered the staffing piece, so there's nothing more really I can share with you on that. I'm just going to go ahead and move into compensation. And so where we are headed, I came to you in April and shared with you at least 3 models of 7 that at that point in time we had put together with regards to trying to find the best models that would continue to make us competitive, as well as provide adequate pay increases for all staff. So with House Bill 3 being passed now, and what we know of House Bill 3, there are 2 models that I'm presenting to you this evening. One is what we call the 3% model, and basically it applies a 2% structure adjustment to the entry pay of teachers, moving us from 54.4 to 55.5. In addition to that, it recognizes years 1 through 5 providing a $1,700 raise, and with regards to House Bill 3, trying to meet the requirement with regards to distinguishing of those teachers with experience past 5 years. So between years 6 through 26, it runs anywhere from $1,800 to $2,400. This model also, like I presented to you in April, provides what would be our position market with regards to our competition. Now, taking into account if we had a hypothetical that the market's going to move at 2%, we have adjusted some of those years to get us into about a 98% within the market of that gap that I mentioned to you, in trying to close that gap. So that's what that's also taken into account. The midpoint pay system is a 1% structure adjustment to all midpoint scales to increase starting salaries off that midpoint, with the exception of a few areas where the structure adjustment or the general increase is higher than the 1% or 3%. For example, the administrative instructional pay scale is at 3% structure adjustment, moving those up, because that pay scale is fed by the teacher pay scale. Those people coming off that pay scale will get positions within administrative instruction, such as curriculum specialist jobs or principal positions, and so we don't want those 2 pay scales to create pressure for the administration. Manual trades, there are various pay grades within there that we're lifting up with regards to custodian, child nutrition, and bus assistants to go to $10.50 an hour. Of course, police, raising that entire structure 9.5% to municipalities and last one there, instructional program professionals, because the counselors are not on the teacher, librarian, nurse pay scale, or what I'm calling the step pay scale, they are in the midpoint pay scale. So because of House Bill 3, we need to make sure that that particular group is also receiving what the step pay system is range anywhere from 2,000 to 220 on the employment calendar that they're on. Estimated cost, like Mike had mentioned, is overall cost is 9.9. My projection basically is that we'll have an entry pay to the market will be third, 2% above the market, and then the estimated cost to close the gap to that market is about another $1 million that would be needed. What the detail breakout looks like of those costs, and you can see that my slide, teachers were at $5.5 million, so we satisfy House Bill 3. Package of 8.8, base pay 1.1 of other compensation items. Back to the operating fund is 9.3. Second model, Model 3B, is what is deemed as the 6%, 4% model, or what Mike mentioned, the $400,000 model. This one applies a 5.5% structure adjustment to the entry or 4 to 57.4. In the range itself, 1 to 5 years, the minimum would be $3,300, and years 6 through 26, anywhere from $3,400 to $4,000. It's about a 6% increase in pay. Over here to the right-hand side, the gradual increase, again, satisfying House Bill 3 to recognize those with more experience after 5 years. And again, being sensitive to trying to close that gap and trying to recognize, trying to keep us at 98% of that gap. The other item here is an incentive pay of about $700 per teacher, librarian, nurse, and counselor to get them to at least a minimum of $4,000. That cost is estimated at $18.5 million of all funds. Again, keeping us at third, 2% above the market, and an estimated closing the gap, an additional needed of $1.1 million. Now again, this is speculating that the market in this situation is going to move 5%, but what we don't know right now is with those that are receiving House Bill 3 funds as to how aggressive they're going to be. So this market that I'm projecting against with regards to teacher pay is roughly an average about $3,000 that I'm speculating that could occur in the marketplace. If that all holds true, then what you're seeing here is that we'll be third with our entry pay. Detailed information in regards to this particular model at $18.5 million and $17.5 to the operating fund. The incentive that I was just mentioning has a cost of $2.2 million. Other compensation items that has been discussed with the board is these are hot spot areas with regards to, again, police, custodian, child nutrition, bus assistants, bus drivers, advocate tutors, athletic coaches, high school and middle schools, and lead technicians in HVAC and alarms, all of which are, again, trying to continue to make us as competitive as possible with those entities outside of school districts primarily. Those are the two models to present to you with regards to in light of House Bill 3 and trying to meet what we understand today of those requirements of House Bill 3.
Go ahead.
Thank you, number one, for really paying attention to closing the gap. I really appreciate that. as a board member. But my question for you is on the incentive pay on Model 3B for the teacher, librarian, nurse, counselor. Is that $700 annual or biannual?
That's $700 annual.
Annual. And it would be a one-time payment.
One-time payment, we're still kind of talking through that, but it would be issued, we would look at maybe December
Okay.
timeframe.
Okay. Thank you.
30% requirement of the M&O change that has to go to the compensation increases. What's that number?
We think it's
7.3. So I didn't see that package, so I'm just going to make an assumption that it's not enough to to give us that 3,000, 4,000, that 3,000 average, right? So we have this mandate, but we don't have the funds to go along with it.
$7 million that we're requiring.
Package where each teacher got around $1,800,
Go back to that.
there it is, right there.
look at the cost that went over that. I need to, operating
Okay.
But that would be the minimum requirements.
Yeah, yes.
That would be the minimum requirements of House Bill 3.
Just that one factor, just the 30% factor.
Just the 30% factor.
That's correct.
Okay.
We just wanted to make sure that we put something out there. And we could have squeezed it down a little bit more, but we wanted to make sure that we put something out there that would meet that.
So in April, when I presented you a traditional 2% model, that would not have met House Bill 3. It was falling pretty short
Yeah.
from where we are now with House Bill 3.
Okay, I guess the other question, and this may still apparently is an unknown, is that differentiation factor. Is that's left to our discretion?
It is, right now it is.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't figure out what your factor was. But I didn't know if there were certain requirements that we had to meet. We just have to differentiate for
Correct.
6+. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
And actually, there's,
It's kind of, this is what they, a little more time.
Go ahead, Mr. Sid.
I just kind of want to piggyback on the questions that Ms. Conrad's asking. I think it's very important of our messaging out there. We've got, the legislature did a really good job of giving us a big bucket of money. The devil's kind of in the details of what comes out of what bucket, what do we have to do to garner the extra allotments and so forth. You know, there's, this is HB3. The $4,000 that's been talked about in the media and $5,000 that was talked about in the media is, the way I understand it, the way they came up with the number is a average increase across the state, which would include districts that got $1,200 more money per kid, districts that got $300 more money per kid, and the number of teachers that are in that, if you look at it, a lot of those $1,300, $1,500 more a kid, they're smaller school districts, smaller numbers of teachers, they're going to get a bigger raise, that kind of thing. So, Ricky, I think you did a really good job on this one, but yeah, the questions were very valid because it doesn't really show that. And when everybody's thinking 4,000, 4,000, 4,000, well, really, I mean, we're going to, early runs say we're going to get anywhere from 22 to 24. And so 30% of that is about $7 million. And then out of that $7 million, 75% has to go to a certain group, and that's teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses. And then out of that money, they're asking us to differentiate between years 1 through 5, and then latter years to close those longevity gaps. So whatever we do as a board, whatever we do as a school district, above and beyond that $7 million, and I'm using that as a rough, depending on what number you're looking at, it could be 7 million to 7.3. But whatever we do to get get that class of employees closer to that $4,000 figure that has been quoted in the papers for months now, is us trying to do what's right for our employees. Because the funding is not mandated from the state. So I want to make sure that we all understand that. This is the second one is a very aggressive package. And I love the second one. My fear with the second one, though, is what happens in the second year of the biennium, and then what happens in the next legislative session if we don't have another bucket of money. Because the terminology is every year going forward that your revenue exceeds the basic allotment, you have to give 30% of that excess in compensation increases. Well, we give a raise every year anyway. So we're already doing what they're trying to get everybody to do. But when you're competing with surrounding districts that are getting more money, so that means they're mandated to give more money to their teachers. We're going to have to do better than that 30% mandated money. I think that's what I'm getting to. And quite frankly, as we go around the district and we talk to teachers and we talk to administrators, they're kind of expecting, something closer to 4,000 than 1,700. So I wish we had more concrete answers so we could say, yes, let's go with option 2 right now, and let's go home and everybody's happy campers. But those are my fears, Mike, is that going forward, being able to maintain that aggressive package. I think it's what we need to do, but there's don'ts. I just did a quick calc, and I know that Mr. Phipps is going to probably correct me, but I think with the 600 newly identified special ed kids, that's another about $500,000 in revenue, if I figured it right. So there's a lot of those type things. I mean, that was an example. There's a lot of those.
The only thing I would like to say is that there's a 1-year lag in the revenue. We don't get that revenue initially, so it's going to be a year later that we receive that.
Well, and I'm sure,
That'd be a good
that's
thing.
the way. I'm sure that's the way most of these allotments are.
That's the
gonna
way most of these are going to be.
be. So that's why I bring that up. So I think that's the way a lot of these are going to be.
I do want to thank our state legislators, though, because
Oh, yeah.
we asked for flexibility and not to pass down a raise that we just had to give. So I do think we got that local control now. It's incumbent upon us to do the right thing for our teachers. But I agree with you. There's a lot of variables that I'm uncomfortable with at this point. One other question, because I've slept since probably we talked about it before, but the TRS Active Care. Do we know the changes for TRS Active Care?
Active care.
Yes.
No, just, I mean, how it offsets.
Well,
That'll
how
be the
is it gonna
first.
offset?
Great, I got a raise and now my insurance went
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
Okay, you know that there are 3 plans that are offered.
I needed them. Thought I needed them.
We have 250 employees that participate in the 1H
Plan with the highest deductible.
Their premiums will go up if we don't increase our contribution, nothing with the percentage of recommendation. each will go up by $11 a month for employee only to not cover it for covering the full family. It'll go up by $41 a month. Just to give perspective, those employees will now be paying a little over $1,000 a month to cover the family. The active care 2, which I believe will be no longer be available after 11 years of trying to close down that plan. So they're really pricing folks out. Employee only, their premiums will go up by $70 a month. Employee and family, their premiums will go up by about $200.
How many do we have on that one?
We only have 357 employees.
And when you consider an $1,800 or $1,700 raise, and you split that by 12, and then you take this, the adjustment, the raise, they're not getting a whole lot.
Our position is kind of the best that we can do, given the cost of insurance to us, is we want to make sure that there is employee-only coverage and superior employee. So our employee only now will be paying $52 per month. That's $11 for the cover. If they're on the one higher. The other one is worth considering, we didn't go through that, but it's called Active Care Select. There are 900 employees on that. And that's going up by $16 a month for employee only, for about $50. We only have, we have very few, but we can use employees that cover their family. We have less than 200 employees.
But Mike, on the high
Not a
deductible,
surprise.
what is that high deductible?
Why would you?
I'm sorry?
On the high deductible, what is the deductible?
For an individual, it's about $6,300. For parent and child, which is our second largest group. Most people are just employed. Second largest group of miles can be extra dollars if you go to a parent and children, because those are people that can't get good coverage from their spouse. So they will be there instead of us. Their premium is going up by $21 a month, but their monthly premium is $371.
Back off Mike, Active Care 1 is going on average about 3%. Active Care 2 is 9%.
We are allowed under the hospital provisions of legislation to commit dollars to meet that 100%. We could say, well, we're only going to get a $1,500 raise. I would hope that it would be something for insurance. We do it by law. Because this is only going to make about 3,500 employees. We have about 6,000.
Close to 6,000.
So we've got about 6,000 employees. But one of the things that we started last year that we hadn't had before, we would constantly hear from employees saying, well, what about we contributing $200 to that guy's health insurance, and I don't have that. So we started this program where if you don't take health insurance, you make a monthly contribution to Flexible Spending Account. If you divert money from raises that you put your insurance contribution, it just kind of stirs up that other fund. Why don't you do it? It's all philosophy. There is no right or wrong. What the board feels.
Like the state legislator doing the same thing to us.
Yeah.
We give local control, flexibility to
Anything else for Rick or anything else on?
I like 3B as well, Model 3B. But do we expect to know more about the law and its interpretation or how it's going to be written within the next week? You know, we do have another meeting next week.
We know more
What is your confidence level?
This is dependent
But
on
Mike,
your.
our question to you is, I mean, because I'm like Miss Dixon, I'm all about 3B, okay? Because they're well deserving. It's time we do something. But at the same time, I'm smart enough to know that I want to be careful too. I don't want to hurt our district either, and put them in a worse situation. Would we be more confident about what we have coming within a week or so? I mean, we're not looking. I mean, we know we need to do something.
Well, and Mike, before you answer, just let me just kind of chime in on this also. So I've Keith is not here, so I've been around a while, and I remember when we gave no raises for a long time. And I have all the trust and confidence in Dr. Fagans, and I know she has it in you guys. And I don't think you guys would give me 2 plans and fluff me on one. I would hope not. And so I came here tonight to vote on 3B because employees of the district, they deserve this, but I'm willing to go with the board. So I don't want to hear about what I think, I hope, I guess. I want a plan, and I thought that I had a plan here tonight. And so we'll worry about all the other stuff, the devil's in the details, but I'm going to go ahead and let you answer your question, but I think I needed to put that out there. I want to do something for our employees.
Let me explain that. $2 was enacted to address 2 different things. One was what we required. The other was that in a press conference, our legislature stood up and said, we're giving you money and most people should have it worked out. We all know it would be better off if there won't be any questions. But we didn't go in and say, what's the plan we can start with, what's the number that we can show? I showed you the numbers on the screen. If we come in at only giving that lower end of the $3, we will then come look at like the place like me that said this is our year to run the World Series. And the next year they'll give away all the pieces and they're going to rebuild. So we're in a rebuilding process. I believe that the chance of us getting the low end of those numbers is very low. I think there's a much better chance that we'll hit the high end. My confidence, my personal confidence, falls somewhere in between. And you could address that. Once you give a raise, you can't back off of the raise. But you could address that if you chose. Put a little more of that money into a stipend, and a little less into a hard raise, but so that you have the same dollars. And then if it comes in great, then we're able to roll that stipend into raises. When it's the same dollars that it was. But it lowers our risk then of looking up and saying, oh my goodness, we're opening new schools. And every kid is going to be opening that new school and provide staff and there will be no raise. So that's a thing that I will work diligently to make things work with whatever proposal that comes out of it. I'll find
We won't do that, Mike.
No, we won't do
But let me
that.
ask a question. Over the past 3 or 4 years, what has been the average of our raises to our employees? 2.5, 3?
It's
Yeah.
run from about 2.5%, 3%.
Right, but that's with old money though, right?
That was old money.
That was old money, and we would do that again. But now we're getting some new money.
Right.
All right, I'm just thinking 6 is doable, but I don't know. That's why I'm not a math guy. So, thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Oh,
I would just add that
I can go with that, Ms. Conrad. I mean, we made a decision to make this an action item, but I believe in, going with the will of the board. So, point taken. No, we're not motioning yet. We're still going here. We got part of the workshop. We're going to get everything. Go ahead, Rick. You still got some more?
I'm done.
You're done?
You're done.
Dr. Fagan?
He's done.
So Rick, would you go back to the 3% model, please? So I think what you heard Mike say was that the ongoing part of this is the only thing that gives him pause because of House Bill 3 and the ambiguity of certain components of it. So if you look at this particular model with the 3%, certainly you could take $2,200 or whatever the number is and go toward a stipend to hit that $4,000 mark, or however you'd like to structure that, which would give a lot more flexibility in the second year because people wouldn't put it into their monthly expenses, which is what we're concerned about. Is when you make an adjustment to the salary schedule, you need to be prepared to continue it forward as people put that into their monthly expenses. I agree with Mr. Cunningham and others who have said that this is long overdue for our staff. They are more than deserving of it, and this the second model is the model that we want to recommend and we're hoping to approve tonight. We are just struggling to get people who are experts in this field to guarantee or even strongly suggest that they know what this is going to look like when it is all said and done with tax compression, et cetera. So we were hoping to have that information. As you know, we have to post the agenda on Friday. I had a meeting this morning with all the Region 4 superintendents. David Thompson was there, who helped write this bill. Moat Casey was there. Hilco Partners was there. We went through every aspect of House Bill 3, and none of them felt very confident in what can be done at this point. And all of the districts that have July 1st budget years are in the same situation. So there's a lot of conversation about passing compensation packages that have if and then statements in it. So that's something that we will be highly encouraging the board to consider also, is something that says, whatever compensation package we pass, regardless of if what's been signed and what rules have been made, it will be all inclusive of the components of House Bill 3. And in the event of certain circumstances, we would leave it open for it to go up, because we don't know what our total revenue is yet. So it's difficult to know what 30% of X is, to know what 75% of that is, to ensure that even a 3% model meets that standard. So in any case, the bottom line is we would love to and believe that we would move out of here tonight with a compensation plan B, and moving forward with that and celebrating the increase with our staff and with Representative Huberty and others who worked on this. But I think that caution, it might be the better pathway. One more week, maybe two at the most, and then moving forward hopefully with that second package.
Thank you, Dr. Fagan.
I guess I'm encouraged too that others are in the same boat, and it doesn't necessarily hinder our recruiting efforts.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
However, again, if we were able to lean towards the 6-4 model, we are going to put ourselves in a better position, because the unknown is what will the other districts do? They're 30%.
Right.
Those that are getting more is my concern.
We have a couple other budget initiatives we wanted to present to you just for your consideration. They're mostly short with the exception of Henry's. Sorry, Henry. And so I believe he's next. Yes, Mike?
Does that fall under compensation or?
Next
No,
up
it
is
doesn't.
Fine Arts, which will be very
So
quick and
let's, Mike, let's hold you up here. We have a motion on the table here for the compensation, and then we'll turn it back over to you. So I think everybody's had their say, and so it's already been motion and second. Do I have an amendment to a motion?
Not an amendment, Mr. President. I move to table the motion for now with further discussion at a future board meeting.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been second. All right. we'll have a motion to table the compensation package to a future board meeting. Are there any questions?
Do we need
Go
to
ahead.
decide which board meeting?
I didn't hear a board meeting on there, so.
No, I did not.
That's
Yes, a future board
Well,
meeting.
we know we got to do it before July 1.
July 1.
Pending TEA action.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. All right. That question's been answered. Okay. Any more questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the table? All opposed? All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Fick, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Was there an opposed?
There was one. It's 4-1. And